Hello and welcome to the first part out of 3 of the behind the scenes videos for the trailer of Steve's Factory Manager. So we have so much content that we're going to split it up into 3 parts. This first part I'm going to talk about the technical stuff, like what tricks we have used to actually create the effects and like how we fly through the map and things like that. And then the second part will go through the actual build, and then I'll probably invite the builders as well. This one I'm doing myself, so I can just show the technical stuff. And then the third one, we're going to go through the actual Monopoly game. So the game at the end is so big that it won't fit in part 2, so we'll give that a separate one. Where, well, we'll go through, maybe not how it works exactly, because it's 600 commands long, but like the structure of it, like the idea behind it, what different parts we have, and so on. And then after that part, after the third part, we're going to release the world download, so you can play the game yourself or take a look on any of the setups that we have made. So yeah, and just a reminder: if you haven't watched the trailer yet, just you can go and do that, and then come back and watch this later, because it's probably going to be more rewarding if you actually seen the trailer rather than just seeing the behind the scenes. Right. So this is the whole video, 12 minutes and 41 seconds long, and what we have here is, well, three audio tracks and 3 video tracks, and I will go through. Well, I won't speak too much about the audio. We just have some narrations here, and well, then the music, and yeah, there's not much to cover, but there's quite a lot of interesting things about the video. And to help me with that, I'm going to go into Minecraft here. This is using a few mods, like pretty much everything in my dev environment, so well, it is my dev environment, so that's why. So to make the camera path, we use Steve's Handycam, and what I can do is something along these lines, like that, and then I just start it, and it's going to fly along that path, and that's pretty much how we do it. We can change speed and angles and so on to make it look better. And we've used this for all the previous Steve's trailer team trailers. So that's the Steve's Factory Manager one, the Steve's Cards 2 one, and then the Direwolf 20 pack trailer that we did as well. So basically the 3 latest trailers, we've used this, and it has been super important to well, to create a good-looking path that we fly through it properly and get the timings right and so. But this time it has been much more important than previous times, because we used it in much more ways than before. So if I head back here, so what we have is, if we fly through a specific path that we already defined, what we'll notice is that, well, if we know when we start, then after 1 second we're always going to be in a specific spot. If we wait for 2 seconds, then we will always be in a specific spot. If we define a spot at this at a track, or well, at a path, then we know that after a certain amount of seconds we will be there, no matter what. So we'll always be in the same spot all the time, which means that the camera will always show the same specific scene every time. So what we've done is we've recorded this twice, which is these 2 bottom tracks pretty much, and the top one is the normal one actually, and I just aligned the top one and the bottom one here at the beginning. And what I want to do, if I want to show like this, as you can see now, we see here like the cables and the manager and so on. So, and if we take a look at what we can see up here, is I basically just removed the top track here. So I aligned the 2 tracks, right? And then I remove the top track where I want the cables to be shown. Which means that, well, if I fade out now, it's going to be fading from the top track to the bottom track. That's what this line here is telling me, that it's fading out. Which means that, well, the cables are going to be shown. So it's actually not just fading the cables, fading in the cables there, it's fading out everything. But since the bottom track is exactly the same in every aspect around the thing, whereas it's going to be different where the cables are, it's going to look like we removed the floor to let the cables in. So we've gone through the, well, flown through the whole path, the Steve's Handycam path, once with Steve and with all the blocks, and once without Steve and without like the floor and walls and so on. And then we just well, by aligning them in the beginning and then just fading in and fading out the top track like this, we can see that, well, it goes back and forth like this. And since, well, the camera will be in the same spot, they will be in the same, well, the two clips are the same length and so on, which means that, well, align them in the start and then just fade in and fade out with one of the clips, then it's going to go back and forth very smoothly, super easy, and quite cool looking actually, due to the fact that some blocks just fade in and fade out like that without actually affecting the rest. Sometimes it will be a bit different. For instance, this cart, I guess, it's fairly good, but I think it could be a bit off. I'm not entirely sure. What I know is off is when we go all the way to the Monopoly game, because then everything is not in the same spot. For instance, the players disappear, the two dice are actually in different, have different numbers. There we have 1 and a 2 maybe, whereas here we have a 6 and a 4. So there you can actually tell what's going on like that, and you can also see all the pieces move and so on, because, well, they were in different states when we did the two recordings. That's not really an error, but it shows us, well, it shows you what's actually going on. So we just fade between the two here. Another trick we've done is this last scene where we, well, it's not the last scene, but it's one of the whatever, the Monopoly thing. We needed extras, so we had 3 extras that joined us to just be players in the game. So Steve is the red one, whereas the other ones are just, well, the extras helping out. We didn't want to bother them with like the whole camera path, so they had to wait for the whole camera path, because this last thing, it didn't work on the first take anyway. So then we would have had to fly through the whole thing, and alright, something got messed up, fly through the whole thing again. But we utilized the fact that, well, yet again, we utilized the fact that the camera will always be in the same spot. So if you take a look here, here's actually a cut. So here we have 2 different video clips here that it just goes, well, from one to the other. And if I'm just going to move frame by frame here, and we can't actually tell that that anything is changing due to the fact that, well, the camera is in the same spot, or almost in the same spot at least, and from frame to frame you can't see the difference. So here's actually a cut which allowed us to, well, we started here, the camera flew down through on the same path as always, and then we did the Monopoly thing there, and then we just put it together with the rest. And we had one as well somewhere else, I guess. I don't know exactly where, but we had something else here because when we recorded this scene here, Steve didn't make the jump. Well, Gory Moon, who played Steve, he failed the jump here at some point, and this jump here is much harder where you jump up there. So then we did some, like, I think it's actually this fade in here is actually using the new clip, but if you just align things properly, then that worked. So that's this thing, which makes the cool fade in and fade out effects, which was super useful. We couldn't have done that without Steve's Handycam, just because then we know the cameras are aligned. So how do we do these overlays then? Because they are also a big part of the video effects that we have used. And let's go back into Minecraft here, and I'm going to show you here, because that effect is, well, I added some extra features into Steve's Factory Manager here. That I will probably release in the future, actually. So if you want to do something similar, then you can do so. So I'm just going to add some things here. Yeah, so this is obviously not going to be something proper due to the fact that, well, we have not connected them to anything or whatnot. Right, so just something like that. And then what can I do here? Well, if I type things, let's see. So I'm going to hold it there. If I type things on my keyboard, which you won't see that I do, but I do. So I will type mouse now. So I have nothing selected, but I type mouse, and therefore the mouse over effect disappeared. I can type mouse again, and they will come back. So not super cool, but that's just the, well, one of the things you can do. So if I type info, this info line will disappear. If I type buttons, all the buttons will disappear. And then, well, it's just a matter of typing green, and you'll have a green screen, and there you go. Now you have a proper green screen, nothing else in the way, and just the commands and so on. So it's super useful for doing recordings. We're not entirely done yet, though, because like these things, they are green, and they were too close to the background to actually make it look good. So the green didn't really work. So I thought, well, what about the blue screen? That could work. So I just typed blue to get that one. That didn't work that well either. This T here, it didn't really work too well with that, and it looked a bit bad. So what I found out, it wasn't perfect, but what I found out to be the best was a pink screen actually. Usually that makes no sense due to, well, when you record human beings and so on, it blends too much with like skin color and mouth and so on. That doesn't really work. But we don't have that problem. We have just commands here that we want to filter out. And then it was just a matter of applying a filter, which I've done here on all of these. It's a RGB different key, and I'm using that color like that. It's not perfect. You can see some pink in the edges sometimes. Here you can actually see that there. And I couldn't get it better than that actually. And I use high quality recordings. I used like highest setting on fraps on these ones, whereas I just use XSplit on the rest to just get it as good as possible there. But this is not everything, because, well, I didn't go through the whole Monopoly game and recreated it. That's not going to happen. So here's the best part, maybe. If I type animate, it's going to build it all for me like that. So it's not perfect. It doesn't do everything. Let's actually show some more things. So it can also handle names like that, and it can actually also handle nodes like that. So if I animate it again, so it's going to place it. It enters the name, goes through the menus, edits the stuff there, adds another one, and as soon as both are added, it connects them to, adds the nodes, and just continues like that. One thing, I don't know if you noticed, but what it does when it gets to a menu, it basically opens it up, copies everything from the original one into the new one, and then closes it. So it opens it, and it doesn't click on things, it just opens it, copies, and then closes it. So these just appeared. You didn't see it go into this menu and so on. And that was just to make it easier, so I didn't have to specially code how to do it for every single menu. Like, how do you do this one? How do you do this one? And how do you do that one? So I had the data, I could just copy it over, so that's what it does. And it looks actually quite cool. Oops. I actually need to close it down. And if you close it down, it's going to reset. What I did was I must have misspelled animate, and therefore I used an E normally, and then I closed the inventory because E is my inventory key. So if I do info, buttons, pink, and then animate like that. But obviously I didn't wait for this amount of time for the longest one, for the Monopoly one. If I did, which I actually tried just to see how it looked, it took 45 minutes to watch through, which if I record it with the highest quality of fraps, it's probably going to be like 50 gigabytes or something like that, which is quite a bit. So I just I'll do that. No. There you go. I just added commands to make it animate faster. So that's a bit faster. The one I had previously was doing it 100 times faster, something like that. Or 50 times, I think, actually, because it took 1 minute to record. So super useful to to just get these overlays and so on. And like I said, I'll probably, or did I say that? I don't know. I'll probably release this. I might have to tweak it a bit, because currently when the client is changing these things, it disregards the server. Or, well, it doesn't actually disregard the server. So if the server sends an update to you, then the client is going to get confused. So what it should do is completely disregard the server. I just say, if you send me info, I don't care about it. I'm currently animating it, and afterwards you can like or say, well, yes, reopen the interface to get it. But I'll totally release something like this for you if you want to do something similarly, because it gets quite cool actually to just see it create things like this. And yeah, there you go. But we have one more thing that we used to make all of this possible, and let's take a look at, for instance, we'll start here. So how do we know when Steve should run in here? Well, we could just, well, talk to each other, because that was what we did. I flew the camera, and Goramoon controlled the, well, Steve, so we just spoke with each other while doing so. But to get the timing right, Well, how do we do that properly? Well, yeah, that's just fine, I guess. We could just control it. But here we have something more tricky. So, how do we make sure that the camera follows this redstone line of well, the lamps when they are increasing like that? So how do we make sure that it could be completely off, because this is just looping around? So how do we make sure it's correct? The same thing goes with this thing here. What is actually triggering that turtle over here? What is triggering it to actually, well, go off? It could, like, it has to be timed with the camera. And to do this, we combine Steve's factory manager. I added some features there with Steve's Handycam. So they are working together to do this, which is one of, well, like I said, Steve's Handycam is much more important for us this time than it has previously been. Well, I will explain some of the reasons, but here's one as well. So let's get rid of these, and I'm going to create an emitter here for that emitter command, and I want it to pulse for like 3.5 seconds, like that, and that's good. So now when this triggers, it's going to pulse that, but I don't want that to happen actually. There you go. Okay, so you might have noticed that I've selected something else here on the connection type. So usually you have an interval, redstone control, or, well, a blockout detector, so a bug there. But here I have something that I didn't even bother to name, and this is actually, it's something with a chat. So that's what we used actually. So if I get the coordinates here, 395, 69, no, 68 actually, because it's that block 462. So if I do Steve's factory manager 39568, or was it 462? There you go. So that actually made the emitter turn on because I triggered this command like this. Before you go crazy about this, this is not something I'm going to release. This is just something we used. However, I might release something later on that reminds of this, that you can control by chat. But it's not going to be like, alright, in chat I write the coordinates of it and it's going to get triggered. It's more going to be, it's probably going to be a command to begin with, and also it's probably not going to be the coordinate. Well, it's not going to be the coordinate. It's going to be like a phrase you're looking for, and then you're going to have a block that is actually listening for this, things like that. So it's going to be more complex than this. This is just a super simple setup for what we actually need. So now if I write that, it's going to well, trigger that. And what we did then was to do let's see if I can actually recall the syntax here. What was it? Give me a second. So if I go to, where is it? Steve's Handycam here. It's the okay. So it's all right. So it's just message, not set message. Right. Okay. So if I do message and then I say node 1, for instance. So I added 3 nodes here in the beginning. So 0, 1, 2, and then I do 9, 5, 6, 8, 4, 6, 4, 6, 2. There you go. So now, if I, well, when I reach node 1, well, the second node, then my character is going to say this. So let's take a look, shall we? So when I flew past there, I hit this node over here. That node, not the last one, which is that node. Then, well, I said that, which triggered the redstone signal here. Right, so super easy. Then we could, in the case of the lamps here, we could just make it reset, or actually we set it to like the 8th lamp or something like that, but we do it a few nodes earlier, so when we actually get to it, it's timed. So we just made the timing work there, and the same thing goes with the turtle here. When you can see that lamp being lit up, the first one, maybe you can't actually see that. Yeah, there you go. So that is because I just reached the node here. As you can see, I'm just past that node. So it's a manager behind there. When I reach the node, my character is saying that I can't see that because I'm in F1 mode, obviously. And yeah, then it just sends out the redstone signal. Maybe I think it's a repeater there. That's why it's a bit delayed like that, and then it turns on and sends the turtle along, which is, well, what we've used for everything. And for Steve, we just use something like this. We build it a bit more compact, but yeah, this is the general idea. So then if the one playing Steve, Gormoon that is, or actually let's do it like this. It's just holding W like this, and then as soon as this message appears, alright, I didn't give it strong power. Like that, as soon as the message appears, and there you go. So that's making the timing work perfectly. Now I obviously had to type the message and run myself, but otherwise you can just hold W, and as soon as it goes in, which is we can time properly with the camera flying, then Steve will run, and then you can just continue. So if you get the message like, alright, user start now, well, that would work, but this is even better because then you can, Steve just starts running as soon as, well, he should basically. That's pretty much it for all the technical stuff, and then we just put it all together. You know, the overlays there, the fade in and fade out between the two things, and then we use the those two features together, that when we reach a node, the camera could say things, and that the Steve's Factory Manager system can listen for that, allowed us to time things like the turtle here, and that one there, and the lamps here and so on. We use it like 5 or 6 times or something like that during this path here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So like I said, this thing with the overlays, I will release that almost at its current state, maybe in a day or two. But I will tweak it slightly so it will disregard any calls from the server entirely, so it doesn't get confused. Whereas the one where you type things in chat and it reacts to that, that's not going to be included because it's a bit cheaty actually. But I might in the future develop something properly with that, so you make a block that is actually listening to a specific command, and then when you type that, well, first you actually define who can trigger it with text. Not everyone can do that, and then when you have, well, you've given yourself permission or something like that, and then when you type the command Steve's Factory Manager, and then your entry or whatever entry is that something like that could work in the future, but yeah, not what it is currently. That was just for the trailer. So this was the first part. The second part will include, well, when we go through the actual build, and the third part will go through the Monopoly game. That's pretty much it for now. Goodbye.